Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And we are here once again. We're gonna get right into it. Okay, as you can see in the title, something has to give. And really the something does have to give, right? As we were doing a lesson last night, right, going into why men fall prey to women. That's only one aspect of all the many things that are wrong with the earth today, right? The scriptures say that the whole earth is out of course. All right, meaning that the order in which the Most High created the earth to be, all right, and for man to inhabit it and to rule over it, that has been turned upside down because Esau Edom has been put up over the earth. All right, and so they've turned the natural order of things upside down to where people are now, living a life that they think is normal, but it's not really the case. You know, that's it. That's it. God.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 3 and 12. And it reads, "As for my people, children are their oppressors."
Right. As for my people, children are their oppressors. All right. And what do we know about children? As a matter of fact, I want to look that up in the blue letter for the word children. But yeah, you can read that again. Slow.
Isaiah 3 and 12. And it reads, "As for my people, children are their oppressors."
Right. Children are their oppressors. And when you look into the word children, you got a question?
Yeah, I just want to say something.
Okay. Mm-hmm. By over there.
1-6. I do love my black and Latinos, you see?
Yeah.
And right now it's recession time. That's my slogan. It's investment time. Silver, silver, and gold is going to be like, man, let's get our money back. What's paper, right? So if you got 10 trusted people, a kilogram of 24 karat gold goes around 96,700. That's divide that by 10. Let's get our money. Silver kilogram goes around $900. It surpassed my expectations. I understand that money is not ours, it's really God's, but Yahweh's money. So we're not here to flex it, we're here to have it. And he said for us not to, suffer, right? So let's get our money back.
I got you.
Papa, get them trading accounts, get the accounts ready, see?
Good.
No more checking.
Good. All right, be easy,
bro. Thank you.
Cool. So yeah, when you go into that word children, right, Isaiah 3 and 12, as it says, "As for my people, children are their oppressors." The word there for children is actually ilal, which says here to act severely, deal with severely, make a fool of someone. All right. It says here to busy oneself, divert oneself, deal wantonly, deal ruthlessly, abuse. So when you actually look this up in a different, because sometimes these other translations, what they'll do is, how can we get this thing out of here so we can? Yeah, it's a little blocking to see. Yeah, that's it. That's what I should have said to him.
What you say?
The call posted, "Silver and gold have I none." Yeah, they gotta fix that UI over there. But it says here in the in other translations they have it as the NASB is a bit more clear, right? Hey, Shalom. It says, "My people, their oppressors treat them violently." Okay, which makes more sense. Because when you go into that word that we just read for children, it's more so of a severe oppression rather than like an actual infant, right? Because when you think about it, the children, like actual infants, aren't really the ones that are ruling over us, right? At least in this time, it's Esau Edom, okay, who is, as it says here, he's a ruler that acts severely. All right, it says here to insert, thrust in, thrust upon. To act or play the child, and all these things do fit Esau Edom, okay? Because as cunning as their scientists are, they still, have the some traits of like children. All right, Edomite gets mad and like a child, they throw a tantrum and everything is out the window. They want to freaking press the button and blow up the moon. And there was actually a point in time where they did contemplate shooting a nuclear missile at the moon. That's some wild shit. That's some shit that children will, here it is, you got a real life problem and you ask a child and the child comes out with some wild ass, solution. Now, in their mind, like how AI is, in their mind, the whole goal is just get the problem solved. They're not thinking about the casualties in between. You know, well, daddy, why don't you just blow it up? You know, then it's not going to be a problem anymore. Yeah, but son, we can't do that because, you know, then you're going to go to jail and all those extra other things, right? That's how Esau Edom thinks, except for the fact that he ain't going to go to jail, right? So go back to that. So it mentions the oppressors, right? The severe rule of the oppressor. Go on.
And women rule over them.
And women rule over them. Now, when we go to the book of Genesis, right? Go there real quick. I think it's Genesis, the 3rd chapter. The Lord in the garden gave what the order was. Okay, the order of the household, which begins with the man, right? And then the woman, and then the child. Now, the woman, as the scriptures say, would be basically subject onto her husband. That is the order that the Lord put in place. So by women ruling over them is not something that is natural. Okay? Show me in the animal planet, right? If you go into the animal planet, you look at lions and you look at the pride and the pack, even if it's wolves, whatever the case is, women are not ruling over the men. The females are not eating before the males. They go and hunt and they'll bring the food, but the male lion eats first. And nobody comes there when he's eating. When he's done eating and he gets up, that's when the rest come over there and they eat. All right. So that shows you what the natural order of things is, because nobody had to teach the lions in the jungle how to have proper order. That was something that was naturally instilled within them. So today, when you have women ruling over men, that is out of course. That is not natural. And that is one of the many things that is causing this world to be completely out of course. And that's why something has to give. When you test the boundaries, okay, of abnormality, eventually something is going to break. And that's what we're about to enter into. We're about to enter into the point where something does break. And when it breaks, it brings everything down with it. And that's going to be the introduction of the time of Jacob's trouble. Okay, which a lot of people are not expecting. You got it, bro.
Yeah, Khan, going into the point you made about the children, right? About that being, in a sense, Esau's rulership over Jake. A precept to back that up will be Job 30:1. It says, "But now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock." Right? So they that are younger than I, in a sense of what? When you look at the ultimate rulership, ultimately the Heavenly Father has it where in our customs, in our nation, the youngest, the oldest son gets the blessing and inheritance, right? But when you look at it in the spirit, though in a physical sense, Jacob was younger than Esau, right? He's the younger of the twins. He's the one who got the actual inheritance / blessing that's supposed to go to the older one, right? So the Lord flipped it around where it made Esau the younger one. So he got the first part of the blessing, and then Jacob, being the actual younger one, got the blessings of the older one. Okay, so ultimately they're gonna be in servitude to the younger, right? Yahushua said, "Well, he that shall be first, they that will be first shall be last, and he that is last shall be first." Right? So we are last in this generation, but in the generation to come, we're gonna be first. We're gonna be the greatest. All right, because we are greater by nature. Okay. That's why the Lord told Rebecca that you have what? 2 nations and 2 manner of people are in thy womb, right? And the younger shall be stronger than the older, and the older shall serve the younger. Okay, so the Lord had it that way for a reason. That's why in Job 30:1 it says, "But now they that are younger than I, Esau, Edom, right, have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock." And as you read down in that chapter, it tells you about how beastly, all right, Esau Edom's nature really is. That's why when you actually go into their history, they've been kicked out of almost every nation that they've ever been a part of. Why? Because all they do is corrupt the nations, man. Okay, including here in America, Babylon the Great. All right, you see all these things that's going on. Hence, Job 9:24, the earth being given into the hands of the wicked. Okay, we live in a secular world, meaning outside of the Heavenly Father's righteous order. And that's ruled by who? Esau Edom, the younger. All right, but you got it, bro.
God. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, by the women not following and ruling over the men, that's a false balance. And in Proverbs 11:1, it says a false balance is an abomination to the Lord. but a just weight is his delight. No? So by y'all taking your own life or taking the responsibility or the foundation and putting it into your hand in your own hands is a false balance, man. That's not following the laws of nature. And what is it in the core? An abomination. So something gotta give for that abomination.
But yeah, and like the Aharon was going into that precept in Job. I believe when you go into the actual word younger, it goes into like the elder posted less significant, you know. So as it says, right? And also similar to I think Obadiah, I've made these small among the heathen. Okay, so going back to that point, you know, ultimately that's how the Lord considers Esau Edom. Okay, and when you read, I forget what chapter it is, but it talks about how the heathen are casted like a drop out of a bucket, you know, or like spittle onto the ground. So the heathen in general are their worth is likened onto that, right, in the eyes of the Lord. But Esau Edom, his is much worse than that, right? He is small among the heathen. So if the heathen were their significance was likened onto a drop out of a bucket, how much less do you think Esau Edom's significance is? All right, but yeah, going back to that point, and that's why he is basically doing everything he can. If you really look at the world and society that Esau Edom has set up, his main target is Jacob. All right, I personally have never seen a Moabite in court for child support. I've never seen that. I've never seen a Moabite over there pissed off because he got his baby mama telling him that you got to pay freaking you know, X amount in child support money. You know, I ain't seen no Moabites on there getting accused of choking their women and sexually abusing them on some Shannon Sharp shit. Talking about I might choke you in public there too. You know, it's crazy. You know, you don't see that, right? You see that amongst Israelites, right? And so the system that's set up, the oppression, those that are look, the heathens are not oppressed by the system. They are not oppressed by the system. The largest demographic of people in the prisons are not these heathens. They are Israelites. So can you imagine if there are about, what, 17 other nations? 17 other nations, and you got one nation, which is the majority of the population over there in them prisons. Okay? So everything in this system that is oppressive really works against Jake. The whole women ruling over men, you don't really see that amongst these heathens. Go over there to the east, go over to India, and go see if you got their women doing the shit that Israelite women do today. You don't really see that because Esau's target, pursuant to Psalm 64, right? They shoot at the perfect. Their target is Jacob, and in the casualties or the byproduct is everything in this world is completely messed up. The food is messed up. The weather is messed up. The earth itself is messed up. People's minds which is one of the most dangerous things because the people affect the land, right? The people affect the earth. That's why the Lord set up laws, statutes, and commandments. So when Esau Edom basically messes up and rewires the minds of people on the earth, they ruin everything. Because now they don't have to be over there in Europe to know that the Europeans are doing what they want them to do. Okay, they're like setting mini clones of themselves all around. And the judge of the highest or the highest judge is going to do something about that. Did you finish on Isaiah 3 and 12? All right, finish on that. Which one was it? Oh, okay, done. For this, let's bring this out first.
Isaiah 40 and I'll start at 13. Who have directed the spirit of Yahweh, or being his counselor have taught him.
Right, and that's nobody, right? There's none above the Most High. So nobody counsels the Most High. Nobody teaches the Most High. Nobody directs him to say, go here or do this. There's none above him. So that's a rhetorical question.
With whom took he counsel, and who instructed him?
Right. Who does the Lord take counsel with? Now you may read the scriptures and you'll say, oh, but it talks about a council in the heavens, and that's not the Most High taking counsel of them, because he's already decided what he was going to do in the first place. All right. When it says here, who is he taking counsel of? You know, you may run into a situation before you take action. You may seek counsel. Hey, what do brothers think about this? I'm in this situation. You know, you think it's wise? We'll discuss it. Bring out precepts. The Spirit will guide it, and then you make that decision. That's not how the Most High operates. He is the counselor.
And taught him in the path of judgment, and taught him knowledge and shewed to him the way of understanding.
Right. So who went up there and taught the Most High, well, if you're going to do creation, this is how you got to do it. You got to set laws. You got to set what's right. You got to set what's wrong. This is what good means. Who would that be? Nobody. And that's a part of the glory of the Most High, which is that, the things that we are taught, he is the one who teaches us that. And yet nobody taught it to him. Okay. Because the Most High is the creator of righteousness. He is the creator of wickedness. He is the creator of wisdom. All right. Which is pretty much a way of governing life. And since he created life, he created a way to govern and preserve that life.
Behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket, and are counted as the small dust of the balance.
Right. So the worth of the other nations, right, to the Lord is likened on, if dust is on a scale, you don't even notice that. Right. The scale doesn't budge, it doesn't move. You don't even notice that dust on there. That's how insignificant it is. And when a drop, if you ever lived in those countries where they fetch water from a well, in the ancient world, they use a pitcher, right? And you go to the well and you fetch it, or you put it in a bucket, and you're carrying it from one place to another, you're not concerned about that one drop that spills, okay? And it ain't even like a big spill. That tiny drop that when you put the bucket down from off the little well area, nobody cares about that, all right? That's like, it didn't even happen. And that's how the Lord looks at these heathens. So that if you think that you're going to tell the Lord, oh, you're Yahushua, but you got Moabites eating turtles and shit, why are you judging me? The Lord could care less about what the hell Moab is doing. He cares when it affects Israel. All right.
If I may add, he also mentioned that Esau shall perish at his own dung.
Right.
After dung goes out, ain't nobody caring about it. It's the dung from last week. You got dung from last year. That shit, who knows where it went? It's in the earth again. It doesn't matter. That's how you Edomites are going to be.
Yeah, the only time people think about dung is when they got to take a shit. That's it. After that, it's gone, done, long gone.
Dung is gone. Behold, he taketh up the isles as a very little thing.
Gone. Go ahead. I think you're saying.
Yeah, I was going to add on to the point you made about how the Heavenly Father really doesn't care too much about what these other nations do, but more so how it affects Israel, right? And Esau knows that, and that's why you see what they do. It, like you mentioned earlier, all these traps and things, the system that they set up is mainly to go against Jake, or to enhance Jake in more wickedness, right? Because then that way they could turn around and accuse us to the Heavenly Father and say, oh, look what your people are doing. Really? These are your people, right? This is the monument. This is Tazaya one. This is them, right? This is a book of Leviticus chapter 18 and verse 3. It says here, let me just get it here. And it reads, after the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do, and after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, shall ye not do, neither shall ye walk in their ordinances. Right? That means that they have a certain way of doing things, a certain way of living, a certain custom, right? That is adverse to our customs, right? These people create gods made with hands, clay, water, soil, whatever. And they actually think that this thing actually exists. It's just a foolish people, right? And then we have a Heavenly Father that these nations fear. They've never seen him before, but they've seen the hands or the works that comes from that name, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. That's why they refer to him as a terrible demon-like power, man. Right? The scripture says what? That the name of the Heavenly Father is dreadful among the heathen. Why is it dreadful? Because they know of his nature. The man of war himself. Right? Exodus 15 and 3. So they know that. And that's why we are bringing that name back into remembrance to show the nations, yo, this is that same power that was doing all that stuff that you people even have in your records. All the evil that befell you people that became your history as to why you have all these superstitions. We're telling you where this all comes from. This is the God that we're talking about, the God of the Hebrews. And guess what? His first major example of the power he has is going to be the destruction of America, Babylon the Great. When the power of the earth is destroyed within 1 hour, everyone is going to know that, oh shit, this is that God that these men were talking about. All right. So he says here that we shouldn't be what? We shouldn't do after their ordinances. So in the land of Egypt back then, same thing today. Right. That's why we have to be separated from all these things that these people consider to be normal. Because to the Most High, it's foreign. To the Most High, it's sinful. To the Most High, it's works and words that will lead to judgment and destruction. Okay? And that's why the Lord sent us out here to give the warning. Okay? Stay away from these things. If you stay in it, you're going to be destroyed alongside with it. That's all it is, man. You got it, bro.
Yeah, yeah, beautifully said. And I was just telling brothers, right there, they got a little flyer on there talking about fight disinformation. And like earlier when the guy was here, he was telling us, the guard, he was telling us that pretty much, where we're at is good, right? But like down there, look closer to the campus and stuff, that we shouldn't go over there because then they're gonna consider it propaganda, basically. Like whatever we're teaching, whatever we're saying, they're gonna consider it propaganda because technically you're on campus property and so on. And it was right around there they had the whole, protest and that whole drama situation going on there. So it's just interesting, like we're getting closer and closer to that time where really anything that they can, like they've really taken that label. Like we always say, they don't demonize you per se, they demonize the label and then they throw the label on you. That's the easiest way to do it, right? Throw that label on them and say whatever they teaching, that's disinformation, it's propaganda. They got list it all on there, So it's showing you that we're coming into that time. But once again, something got to give. Something has to give. And guess what? Pursuant to Amos, when the Lord says, all right, it's time to pull my prophets back, right? 2nd Ezra, the 5th chapter. When the Lord says it's time to take my prophets back, that's when the questions are going to start arising. Okay, that's when the Lord is going to start bringing that judgment down. The Lord did not bring the flood before taking Noah off the scene. He took Noah, he held it, had Noah prepare, give the message, build the ark, and then after Noah was off the scene, he brought the flood. The Lord didn't bring that fire on Sodom and Gomorrah before he took Lot out of there, right? He took Lot out of there before he brought it. And so, same thing, the Lord is going to take his prophets off the scene before he brings that destruction.
Sir, if I may add, I was just observing there's a bird over there gathering up grass and things for a nest. And you just mentioned how Noah was preparing. So in the spirit, it's like the same thing. The Lord is having us prepare spiritually for what's to come. And the Lord takes care of the birds. Little animal like that small, bro, fit in the palm of your hand. Yeah. And somehow there's always something out there for him. Yep. You don't even think about it. Animals that's in the wilderness, different things. That the Lord takes care of the animals in the desert, man. Komodo dragons and beasts. And we're his people. So that's why we got to have that sense that the Lord is going to look out for us, man. Right. He looks out for wild animals. You think he cares more about a serpent and a dragon and an alligator more than us? Right. Of course not. He cares about his creation, but we're the sons of God, man. So he's going to look out for the sons of God when the time comes. But we got to be patient because, Jake, we wanted it right now. It's going to be when there's a necessity. When it has to be necessary, then the Lord will intervene. But hey, as long as you got a roof over your head, you got food in the fridge, your belly is full, hey, the Lord is looking out for us right now, man. Daily bread. We just don't ask, we're just appreciative of the basics and the necessities that the Lord gave us. And if we get a little extra, hey, call Allah Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Right. But the main thing is the necessities. And beyond that, hey, when the time of Jacob's trouble comes, the Lord is going to provide as we need it.
Yeah, hey, matter of fact, since you said that, we could get that in Matthew, I think it's either 5:27 or 6:27. They're talking about the evil of tomorrow is sufficient for itself. Take no thought for what you're going to eat and so on. Because guess what? When this thing comes, the Lord is going to protect, his prophets, but everybody else is pretty much. No, I think it's 6:27. Yeah.
6.
6 and 27?
6 and 25.
6 and 25. The water. Because everybody else is all the way on the far side of, like Ayash mentioned yesterday, you've gone from the peripheral of the Lord right to directly in front of him, via all the things you've done. What people consider to be righteous now is wicked. What people consider to be normal is completely abnormal. All right? Dudes, let's actually talk about the concept, okay, of a male, right, an Ayash transitioning into an Ayasha. To the point where you can't even tell the difference. Okay? That is not normal. That is witchcraft. That's sorcery. That's like somebody bewitched you. Right?
Yeah, I was watching a video a couple of days ago that these scientists, they got some kind of chemical or something from soybeans that turned male catfish into female catfish. And they were saying that female catfish reproduce more, so if they can turn the males into the females, then there will be more catfish in general. I'm like, bruh.
Yo, so but you know what? The Most High didn't think about that. The Most High didn't think too far ahead when he made catfish. That you know what? There might be a problem with reproduction. So let me just make female catfish alone and not make the males. The Most High didn't think about all that, right? So Esau has to come in as the counselor of the Lord and say, well, you know what? You're the God who made the organic. We can make the inorganic, and you can learn a thing from us too. So why don't you take a backseat and let us take it from here? That's his mindset. That's why he's coming up and investigating shit, experimenting shit, you know, and he doesn't study the same way King Solomon did, because King Solomon definitely did experiments, but you best believe he wasn't freaking injecting weird chemicals into rats, you know, in a lab somewhere, you know. But Esau Edom says, you know what? Is that a beaver? Lift up his tail. Let's see what it got over there. You know what I'm saying? And let's see what we can. Let's see how far we could go with this. Is that an eel? Does it reproduces? Get that sperm. Let's find out what's going on over there. You know, the violence.
Speaking of that, did y'all brothers see the video that Elder oh man
Okay, one of the
yeah Apostle Rhymelot, did you see the video he did with one of the brothers? I don't remember exactly where he was at, but it was a couple of days ago, and they went into this guy, the governor of Minnesota. He was trying to run for president, vice president of for Kamala Harrison. Do you remember Walsh, Tim Walsh or whatever? Yeah, Tim Waltz, I think that's his name. And they said that he got rushed to the emergency room because he was choking on horse sperm. Yeah, that shit. Oh, real shit, bro. I said, what? And they were going, I'm like, yo, man, that shit is vile as hell, man. But that goes to show you the lengths that Esau is willing to go. These niggas, what what could be in a nigga's mind, bro? These niggas is worse than beasts, you know? Like, what kind of shit is that? Nigga was drinking horse sperm.
And
it caused a reaction where they had to rush him to the hospital. Like, this nigga was drinking, he was start drinking that shit by the gallons at that point. What the fuck? He was overloaded. I'm not even going. You got it, bro.
That's once, but this is why. Matter of fact, let's get that in Psalms. Is it 53? I think it's 53 or 58. It talks about how they be born, they go astray as soon as they come out the womb. All right, you can bring it out.
Psalms 58:3. The wicked are estranged. The wicked are estranged from the womb.
Yeah, when you go into the word estranged, it means to go astray, right? Meaning their spirit, right? Their spirit, right when they come out the womb, yeah, they look like a baby, but in their spirit, it's desire, right? Like the Lord told Cain, right? His desire is onto some weird, strange, wicked shit, right? Go ahead.
They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies.
See? They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. See, a little child that's an Israelite, you might press them and they'll tell you the truth. They'll confess. You know, they might cry because they feel guilty. An Edomite will lie to your ass. You know, an Edomite child will lie to your ass, right to your face. You know, as it says, man, they go astray as soon as they be born, meaning they go in the way of sin. Naturally, like if you left them alone, they would be more interested. Like, you know, those kids at a young age, they start like freaking pulling the wings off of butterflies. You know, then they start moving on to like bigger creatures, microwaving cats. You know what I'm saying? Like shit like that. That's Esau Edom. And then eventually it gets high enough to where they start doing some serial killer shit. You know, that's the spirit that they have. So, you know, for somebody who was trying to run for a vice president or whatever, to be out here, that's a very, you know, you might as well have died at that point, because at the hospital, it's going to come out what exactly it is that triggered that reaction. Now, where did you get a boatload of horse sperm from to be putting that in your mouth? You know, and it wasn't on no freaking products, because it might be. But the point is, like, who sits there and thinks in their mind, you know, like, damn, that's a horse. When you think of a horse, you're thinking of, damn, like, that would be dope. Like, I could get you from point A to point B. You know, that's what they use in the movies for war. This nigga looking up at the horse and then looking down right there. You know what I'm saying? That's it. You know, all kinds. But that's the vile. That's why it says this man is vile. You know, the Most High created him that way. And the Most High says, I know the nature of this guy. I made him that way. That's why Job said I wouldn't have them near my dogs. Got it?
I was just gonna
Oh,
say,
that's it. Okay.
yeah, I have scripture too, but I was gonna add that this should have just get brushed under the rug too.
Right.
This dude will pop out at a press conference next month. You know, all the Dems will be there. The libs, don't worry about that. It was an accident. You know, but I got the scripture here, Job 30 and
He got attacked by the horse. That's what it was. They thought they gonna spin it. The horse raped him. That's what he was saying. They attacked his ass. Yep.
Job 30 and 5. They were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief.
Why were they driven forth from among men? And you know, it's very interesting, right? The the Z's, right? I change them from the small hats to the J's to the Z's. You got to flip them like these algorithm guidelines. So the Z's, they were also driven from among men. They tell you the story of how they went over here, then they got kicked out and went over here, and then they got kicked out and went over here, and they try to paint the image, right? They teach you that in high school of like them being like a wandering people, pilgrims upon the earth, because God cursed them. No, nigga, it's because everywhere you went, you try to do some vile shit over there, and they said, no, we don't do that over here. Over here, our customs, we don't play that shit. You got to get the fuck out of here, And then they'll leave and, oh, look, we have nowhere to go. You got to give us that land back and make it a law. They were driven forth from among men because they were vile as shit. History will tell you that. There's actual history. When you go back to after the time of like around, what was it? I want to say like the Crusades, Khazarian area, whatever the case is. There's records where you go and their women were, like I think the Apostle Ramlaw did a video on it going into it, how their women would sit with their legs open. They would wear their underwear till it actually like disintegrated on their body, scratching their private parts in public, picking shit out and fucking eating that shit.
Drink out of a skull.
Look at that. Dirty, disgusting brown beard. You know what I'm saying? You thinking, this guy blonde? No. He has white hair, but his shit is just so dirty, it's brown. And they smell like Lord knows what.
I was in the grocery store, and I'm not even looking for this man's stench. And I'm walking by, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then this nigga, and he probably has a house, probably has money, but he's just nasty. Old Edomite, bro, standing in the line. Like, his dude smell like he hasn't bathed in weeks. How the hell is your stench? I wasn't even close to him. I just kind of walked by. I was in the vicinity. Nasty ass devils, man.
The Lord told us to stay away from Jebusites, Hittites, all those nations of the heathen descent. They practice the most unclean act. That it's like anywhere you go into any one of those heathen nations, man, you see things that's like unconsiderable. Like, I would never consider to do that. You know what I'm saying? I would never consider building a shoe. But they said during the Dark Ages they built high hills to stop from stepping in all of the waste.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about? The high hills. They was like, yo, there was so much doodle on the street. Instead of sitting in a pot or bowl, they would just sit right where they walk. They had to wear high heels.
Like that. Yeah. But I think Haran, you say you had something? And we can get that.
Oh no. Ishar, as you read down, I want to highlight verse 8. So when he gets there, I'll say something.
Okay.
I was gonna say, actually, I think we can start like from the stock of missing Job.
Yeah.
And then we'll get to 8. Job 30 and 1. But now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock.
So just like Haran brought out earlier, the Most High made them less significant than Jacob. But as it says, they have me in derision. Like right now, they're in a position to where, what's that? The scripture says that I've seen princes upon servants or slaves upon horses, and princes pretty much walking upon their feet, And that's the position Esau Edom is in right now. He's not here because naturally he is a superior. The Lord just put him in this position. All right, go ahead.
That's that statue of Theodore Roosevelt,
Right?
Where you had Jad on one side and Judah on the other, and they took it down because the whole woke thing and all that.
Right.
But he feels the same way. He took a statue down, and now Jake is happy. Oh yay!
Jake's so simple. Bro.
Jake is so stupid, man. But he feels the same damn way. He's still got the guns loaded up. They're ready to come get your ass from martial law when Jacob's trouble hits. But they took a statue down, so let's celebrate.
Right.
That's how simple-minded you Jakes are, you know?
Yeah, wrong at that.
Hey, that's it. The scripture says that he shall seek to please the poor, right? So those are some of the tactics that they use to make Jake more docile. But then they always forget that you never trust thine enemy, right? Because his though what iron rusteth, right? So doth his wickedness, right? So he's gonna show you little glimpses of, oh, you know, we're trying to make things better. You know, we're all equal and so on and so forth. That's just for the outside, but the inside, they're doing more works to make you feel more oppressed. Not just feel, but actually oppress you even more, right? But I got that precept that you mentioned in regards to the statue, right? There's a book of Ecclesiastes chapter 10 and verse 7. It says, I have seen servants upon horses and princes walking as servants upon the earth, right? And those servants is really Esau, Edom, okay? And all these other nations as well, right? But he's at the top. All right. And it says what? Upon horses, meaning what? Power. Okay. They have the power over the earth. They make and break how you live. They come up with the laws. There ain't no Jake coming up with laws. We don't have our own way to say, oh, listen, this is how we're going to govern ourselves. When we do that, they call it anti this and hate this and all these different things that they come up with, that you guys are not the people. Right. When we come up with the actual Heavenly Father's laws that's supposed to govern us, they call it hate speech. So that's fine. Right? It says, and princes walking as servants upon the earth. Right? Who are those princes? The sons of Israel. Right? Yasharallah. Right? So we are the ones that are walking as servants upon the earth. Instead of us being, you know, carried as kings and princes. That's what a prince is supposed to be, right? A prince is not supposed to be walking as a servant. A prince is as a son of a king. You know, he has servants. He has people already grooming him to be the next king to come. You know, so his life is completely different. He has his own rabbis, his own teachers, his own, you know, whatever. Everything is all done tailored specifically to his growth so he can be prepared to be in rulership. You know what I'm saying? But here it is. You got him walking as a servant on the earth. You know, it's like that's so like out of place, you know, and that's the reality of it. We are so out of place compared to them. They're also so out of place, but they've made the world to believe that that's actually who they are and they deserve to be doing what they're doing. Meanwhile, it's supposed to be us. You know what I'm saying? But you got it, bro.
Job 30:2. Yea, whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, in whom old age was perished? For want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in former time, desolate and waste.
Yep. And that's why the whole caveman, right? Really, like the term Caucasian goes back to cave dwellers. That's a known fact. People, oh, what? That's crazy. We'll go look it up. You know what I mean? Go look it up. So why were they called cave dwellers? Now, it's not like, you know, Israelites never dwelt in caves. When you go to the time of the Maccabees, when you go to the time of the siege of Masada, you know, they hid in these areas. But Esau, Edom made it his habitation. When you go to the land of Petra, it's designed like that. It's like holes inside of a rock, you know? And that's why they, like today, they modeled it. If you look at the modern day buildings, it's literally like a tall box and it has those little windows, which inside are apartments, okay? And that's like the image of a hole inside of a rock, okay? So they structure their infrastructure today based on back then. It's the same people, all right?
Hey, that's that.
Esau gives them. Yeah, my bad.
Oh, shit. Shalakia, bro. Can
There
I
you
hear
go.
you? It's good?
Yeah.
Yeah, the water. Yeah, I was gonna say that the water, bro. I was gonna say that you know, it's they go back to the Caucasus Mountains. remember when we used to say the Caucasus Mountains in South Russia, Georgia, between the Black and Caspian Sea.
That's it.
But that's exactly where they come from, right? And like you were saying earlier, when you go back to about the 6th, 7th, 8th century around there, even their own so-called king, right? King Kegan Bullen. He looked at his people and said, yo, man, we're so vile. Like, we've been kicked out of damn near every land we've been to, every nation we've been to. Like, what we going to do about this? We have to put a different spin to our image, right? So then he thought about all these other religions and they settled on so-called Judaism. But it was just a title / frame as a form of deception, because really, when you go into the concept of Judaism, it's all Talmudism, right? Which has nothing to do with the scriptures. You see, going to show you how vile they really are. All these so-called rabbis that come around,
they practice Talmudism. They don't practice Christianity. They don't believe in that. All right, they don't even believe in the Messiah. So how are you going to say, oh, these are God's chosen people when they don't even believe in the Heavenly Father and His Son? Right? They have their own thing going on, which is all based in Satanism, Babylonian paganism, and so on and so forth. When they go into the Kabbalah and all that, do you know what that's all about? Like, that's like extreme Satan worship, man. Like, they show you the steps and everything. The pentagram, you have to put candles in certain places. It's like weirdo shit, man. You know, mixing sperm and feces and urine and all these different things as a form of a ritual. Like, what kind of ritual is this? When you go into the scriptures, the rituals that you go and see is blood sacrifices of animals, all right, to atone for sins or as an offering or whatever the case may be. That's the ritual you going to see. But these niggas be talking about human sacrifices and all kinds of different shit, man. You know, the rabbi be sucking on babies' penises. What other nation be doing shit like that, bro? Huh? What other nation do shit like that? Like, yo, you gotta, you know what I'm saying? And these kids are getting, what they call, they was getting all kinds of different sicknesses and shit. You know what I'm saying? From all these rabbi nasty ass lips, man. You know what I'm saying? But this is all vile shit. That's why, hey, you got it, bro. Just read that. Go down on that. Job 30.
God, Rabbi Nasty Lip. Yeah. Hey, because other nations circumcise their children, but ain't none of them do this the way Esau Edom does. Who the hell came up with? Where does it say that you a old ass priest should put his lips on a baby's rod? Why? Man. Anyway.
And that whole thing of getting dominated by your woman, that comes from Amalek.
Yep.
They're the ones that really are the OGs of that, getting dominated by their
They
women.
not no more.
They like to pay women, you know, they like to pay women to kick them in the nuts.
That's correct.
That's the shit these devils do. I'm not even lying, man. This is exactly what these small hats do. They'll pay women to basically humiliate them. You know? So you in that small hat spirit, Alazar.
That's crazy.
You in that small hat spirit, man.
I deal with Amalek level with the rent a car service. They always rent cars. And their woman is in the passenger seat, but she always speaks for the husband when they get in their car checked out. I say, what's the name to the husband? She quick to answer his name. Like, she'll be quick to always reply when I'm looking and talking directly to the answer. She's very stern and she's very loud. Oh yeah, I would like you to check out these damages on the car and all of this. And I'm looking at the man and I see the facial expression on Tamberlake where he looks at his wife like, you know, you just disgraced me because you're speaking as if I can't speak for myself all the time. All right. And this is like, I deal with like 200 customers a day. Now, those 200, it'd be like 50 or 60 of them. And they always with their wives and it always be the same reaction. And I'll just be looking and I have a small giggle because I'm like, you're weak. You know?
Crazy. And his backside rooted out, stepping on this nothing shit. That's that weird shit they into because they're just, you know, it's like they're not satisfied with just normal. That's why when they get rich, they do a lot of weird shit. That those islands that they buy and, you know, do all that weird shit on there. You know, it's like, why do you need all that? Like when you look at Jake, like for example, Mayweather, for example, he gets rich. All you see is other like, I mean, I don't know what he does behind the scenes, but all you see is other like, you know, women around. You just see Jake go around. You'll see them wearing chains. You see them in the clubs. You'll see them with more women around them. Yeah. That's the main things they splurge on. Even though it's stupid and they lose the money at the end of the day, at least they spend it on some shit that's like, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy how it's like Jake's wickedness is still it still has some natural righteousness to it. And what I mean by that is Jake will get money and they'll commit adultery with another man's wife. Adultery is wicked. But Esau will be committing adultery with another woman's man. You know what I'm saying? And you like, what the bro? You double sin. You know what I'm saying? You committing, I don't even know what to call that. You know what I'm saying? What category of adultery does that fall in? You know? And he's gonna say, well, it's not adultery because it ain't the man's wife. Yo, but that's the perverseness of Esau Edom. Hey, like Aaron, you were saying, they got it, I think it's in the Talmud, that they could pop little boys, right? Because they're saying that the scriptures say that you shall not lie with mankind as you lie with womankind, but a boy is not become a man until 12. So if he's under the age of 12, then he's not mankind. So if you pop him, is you're not.
Yeah, for them, they said even under the age of 9.
Oh,
That's where they go. And sometimes they said the younger the better. That's the whole teaching of Aleister Crowley, right? That he said the highest form of any power that you could get is by popping the little baby boy in the rear, which is so vile. But that's what they teach. You know, Jay-Z and them, all this do what thou wilt and all them Diddy tapes. That's why they're scared to come out, because this is what they do. Them freak offs and all that shit. These are satanic rituals that they do that's been recorded. You know, but to find a nicer, more easy on the stomach to take in a sense, they say, oh, it's just a freak off. Ain't no freak off, man. These are satanic rituals, man, and they all gonna be put to death by Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. All right, all those human sacrifices, abusing little children and all that, doing after the ways of these damn devils, just so you can have a deal, a record deal. Come on, man. All this wicked ass shit, man. The LeBron James of the world, all this wickedness, man. The Most High going to destroy every last one of you. He's going to expose you, bring you down, and then destroy you. All right? You got it, bro. I think Shalom want to say something.
Sure. Sorry, bro.
Yeah, you got that guy called Alfred Kinsey, I think that's how you say his last name. The guy who performed not surgeries, but like performed like little experiments on kids to see if babies could have orgasms. Yeah. But, and mind you, this went in a magazine. He was in the magazine revered as a man of science, like one of like they put like not like a Nobel Peace Prize, but like it was in a magazine like, oh, he's the greatest minds of the earth. And it's like for experimenting on little kids to see if they could have an orgasm. I mean, when I say kids, I should really say babies. So this is like a couple of months old. And this was in the magazines, this was in the news, and they put it out there and they made him sound like he's a great man. But this is who the Lord put us underneath. This is the type of people, this is the type of experiments and nastiness that they do.
Yeah, he was deemed the father of sexology or some shit like that, right? And I actually have some information I just pulled up on him. It says Alfred Charles Kinsey. It says was an American sexologist, biologist, and professor of entomology and zoology, who and this is all going back to Psalm 64 and 8, right? They do a diligent search, and then not 64 and 8, I believe it's 64 and 6, where they do a diligent search. Their inward thought is deep, right? This is all part of it. All this ology. It's not to know stuff just to know it, but to actually weaponize it and be wicked in it, right? It says, who in 1947 founded the Institute of Sex Research at Indiana University, now known as the Kinsey Institute for Research in Sex, Gender, and Reproduction. He is best known for writing Sexual Behavior in the Human Male. What type of homo shit is that? Why just a human male? Why are you focusing on that? All right. It says, and Sexual Behavior in the Human Female, also known as the Kinsey Reports, as well as for the Kinsey scale. Kinsey's research on human sexuality, foundational to the field of sexology, provoked controversy in the 1940s and 50s. Why? Because of what Shalimar said. He was dabbling and dealing with little children. You know, it says it has continued to provoke controversy decades after his death. Man, this guy's going to serve a good time in slavery, man, I tell you. It says his work has influenced social and cultural values in the United States as well as internationally. So a lot of the things that, and I got you, Shalimar, a lot of the things that are based on the teachings of today, whether it be in schools or in the hospital, medical practices, all these different things, is all based on this asshole's research, which isn't really any deep research, but besides wickedness, man. You know, a lot of these theories that people practice and believe today about sex and all these different things, it all comes from this clown. All right, it's not really based on organic sciences in the sense of experiments and actually knowing what things have to be done in a certain way. This dude is out here experimenting on children and talking about, oh, this is how you're supposed to do things. What type of shit is that, man? All right, but you got it, bro.
Yeah, I was just gonna say real quick. See, in order for them to do their freakiness, they put it out there as like, hey, we're doing a scientific experiment, And it's like, oh, hey, we got to figure something out, right? This is for science. This is for the betterment. We want to understand stuff, but really it's to do their freaky stuff. So that way they can get off on doing this and say, hey, we found out this stuff by going into this. You're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why the scriptures say that the earth is out of course. Because you got a demon like this who's in power and he's using deception to basically, like you said, capitalize right off of the ignorance of the people. And that's why one of the first things that they did was to target the minds of the people. Because when you got people dump, like the reason why everything looks crazier now is because everything is crazier now. But they spent decades, right? This decade, they spent decades basically dumbing down the people. You know what I'm saying? They dumbed down the people and they targeted the minds of the people, you know, and made them more perverse. That's why a lot of the media industry, right, which is the medium, is very they have a lot of money in there because they use that to affect the minds of the people, to condition the minds of the people. That's why there's such a thing as like the Western world. It's like a world in its own, and they've influenced people and dumbed them down. And you started noticing this when the those little Grammy awards and shows started to become, their performances started to become more and more demonic, but blatantly. And that was to test how well their conditioning was working on the people. Are people going to look at this and say, "Oh no, look, we went from a time when if somebody performed some form of healing through medicine, they said you're a witch, and then they would tie you up and they will burn you because they'll say you're using witchcraft." Once upon a time, they actually used to kill witches, but now, as you can see, the world has gradually shifted from that. So they're testing to see, are these people still going to pick up on the blatant satanic rituals before them? Or are they just going to go along with it and say, oh, that's Beyonce's performance. Oh, that's Jay-Z. Oh, that's this guy. That's what's up. Let's get down with it. And as they tested it, they started pushing the envelope. They started to see like, yo, these guys are cheering this on. So now this shit going to come out. Freaking, what's her name? What's this chick's name? The one who shaved her head bald, shaved her eyebrows off. And she killed her.
Doja Cat?
Who? Doja Cat. The water. Doja Cat. When you look at her before, she was like a nice, you know, regular chick, thick and nice. Now she just became and then one of her music videos is literally her dressed as a demon. I think she got a song called Demon or some shit like that, you know. And in the music video, you see her with a tail, with the demon horns and shit in the corner of a ceiling, you know, perched up and shit, singing and shit on Demon Time. So now that people are actually buying these records, singing to this music openly, like, yeah, you know, it's fine, yeah, it's cool and whatever. They're like, okay, we got them to the point where they're pretty much awake but asleep. And at this point, we can now do all the crazy things we want to do. It's like a scientist putting you into a trance with hypnosis, and then he'll test it. All right, your name is now Tom. What's your name? Tom. Okay, cool. Your hypnosis works. What's that? Oh yeah, that's the one. Yep, that's the one. Look at that shit. You look like an actual demon, you know. And it might be the demon inside of her that's trying to come out, you know, perched up on the table and shit, looking around and shit with a small ass head. Yep, that's the one. That's the one. And people buy that. People buy that, listen to it, blast it, and dance to it. So they've tested that their methods of dumbing the people down has worked. That's why now everything you see around you is blatant. If you notice, like a lot of the weird like things that they pushed to the forefront came at a certain period in history, right? And that was not too long ago. Yo, I remember a time, and I'm not that old, but I remember a time when TGs was like a wait, what? What is that? What? A T who? A cisgender? A what now? What the hell does that mean? That was not a thing. You know, and if it was like something that was spoken of in secret somewhere. And literally over the span of just a couple of years, you know, they've made it such an open thing to where, like I mentioned before, you can literally walk past somebody, sit. You could be sitting on a bus, somebody stands in front of you, like, oh shit, who's that? You know? And they turn around and, oh look, oh, that's a nice young lady. No, it's not a nice young lady, you know? Because now what they'll do is they'll give it to them young. So when you're, you know, sometimes you may see a child, especially when they're really young, sometimes it's hard to really differentiate between a boy and a girl, especially when they're Edomites. Because, you know, Jake, you could tell about the hairstyle and all that. But sometimes, because young girls, their chest isn't developed, you know, they got the same figure. So if they do it while they're young and they start to grow with that, it's more it's harder to tell, is this who, like, what kind of person is this? So that's what they've done. But the thing is, we were not affected by the dumbing downness. That's why we say, like, the Lord woke us up. So now we've woken up and we're like how those people were back in the past when they saw a witch and they put her to death. We're like, what the hell is going on in the world today? You know, like, I went to sleep and woke up and what the hell is this? You telling me the person I'm seeing here is really this person? So they were really an Ayash and they became an Ayasha? Oh, but I gotta call them an Ayasha. Oh, okay. That's that new shit. You got it, bro.
Hey, there's a man by the name of Rick Owens who came out with a new satanic design for the Converse sign. And it's famous, and they charging people like $1,000 for them. And just because it's expensive, people gonna go out there and get it. But disregard the fact that it's a pentagram. It's always been a pentagram, but they made it more of direct and blatant by putting it upside down to make it look exactly like the Baphomet symbol. You're right. So they throwing it in your face that this place is a place of devil worship. All right. So right now, it's time for them to the gig is up, man. The Lord's gonna come back to erase their agenda. Because they doing things to the open where they just like, yo, y'all worshiping Satan with everything that y'all do. And the Lord is gonna correct that, man.
Hey, you know what's crazy? Rick Owens is actually married to that high-level demonic witch Satan, Michelle Lemmy. And I remember a few months ago I did a video on her, all right, exposing how, you know, all these celebrities got to go to her so that they can become famous, especially when it comes to the fashion world. And this dude is a complete freak, man. There's a video I watched on him, bro, just to kind of get some information on who he is. And yo, the dude is a weirdo, man, and they call him the Dark Lord. All right, he wears all this black coat, you know, the black cloak and every cloak, and then he walks around in Hollywood with a nasty looking nose and everything, and they dabble into witchcraft. All right, his wife Michelle Lemmy actually has a handbag with his head on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and she walk around with the nigga head around, like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? And they look crazy, man. And you got all these celebrities that go in there, you know, and they do these you know, rituals and shit, and then soon after that they blow up. You know, but they gotta go through him. You got Usher doing, you know, kissing up on him, hugging him and shit like that. You know, Kanye, all these celebrities, they all know these people because they have to. All right, they have to denounce. If they come in, you notice, like you said before, a lot of these celebrities, they first come in all looking innocent and cute and pretty, and then a few years later, like, there's no life in behind their eyes, man. They all wearing shades, you know. They all look messed up. They sound different. The kind of music they're putting out is crazy. You know, but they always do that. Look at Taylor Swift, right? When she first came up, this white, innocent country girl looking whatever, right? And everybody's like, oh, Taylor Swift, making all this cute little music about heartbreaks and all this dumb shit, you know? Next thing you know, she on stage, you know, chanting up devils and doing all this satanic pentagram shit on stage, you know what I'm saying? Fire rising out the ground and shit. And I'm like, yo, these people can't see this stuff? Like, they're showing you right in your face through these so-called performances, because they're not just performances, they're rituals, man. And then they use the people's energy. Why do you think Jay-Z be on stage and he'll tell people to put up the Rock Nation sign, the pyramid sign? Because that's all energy that they sucking in, man. And they never teach you these things because it's all going into vibration, man. People don't understand that. They don't teach this stuff in school because Esau uses it as a weapon. Why do you think they'll put certain chemicals in your clothing that you wear? Because it affects your vibration. You know, why do you think that the food that you eat has certain chemicals in it to affect your vibration, your mood? All these things, it taps into your spirit, right? When you make the vessel where the spirit dwells uncomfortable and becomes unsanitary, it affects the way the spirit actually functions. It's easier for the spirit to take in all this negative energy. It's almost like a gateway, right? That's why to the masses, they'll show you these things. It's almost like they condition your mind. They prime your mind before the shit happens, you know? Because once it goes into your mind frame, it's over. They take over you at that point. You know, they show you that in the Black Mirror episodes and all that. You know, that's why Esau ultimately, he wants to have that, you know what? So you can put it into your skin, under your skin, in your brain. At that point, he has all that power that he's been looking for. Because right now, they're just feeding into it. You know what I'm saying? How do we get here? How do we get? It's all Satanism, man. You know, and people need to go into the concept of vibrations. Like, yo, this means this. Even the hertz, right? 440, 437, all these different hertz that you be listening to, they tune the music to have a certain frequency that affects your mind, that affects your spirit. You know, they put all this evil, the cursing, the evil, and all that. Your body takes on to these things. Water. They did an experiment years ago, right? And they had water, and they were putting the loud people that be screaming. I forget the name. They be playing the loud drums and that scream music, whatever whatever that shit is called, right? Metal, hard metal, that shit, yeah. And they were playing that, and the water started to formulate these crystals, but it was like it looked like demonic entity kind of shapes that they were making. And then they started to play classical music that was more calming, and then the water started to form into like something more peaceful. You know what I'm saying? Another experiment that they did, they had 3 different jars, and then each jar for I think it was like 30 days or so, they put labels on them. One was I love you, the next one was I hate you, and then the third one they didn't put anything on it. It was just like leave it alone. So the first one was I love you every day. They'll say I love you to this jar that had some substance in it. I think it was soil or a plant or something. And then the second one, I hate you, same thing. And the third one, they just left it alone. I think it was water, if I'm not mistaken. Then after 30 days or so, once they were done with the experiment, the one that they kept saying, I love you, I love you, I love you, all the time, you're beautiful, I love you, that water stayed clean and pure. The second one, when they said, I hate you, it started to turn dark and muddy. Like it just started to rot, like the water started to look disgusting. And the third one just kind of stayed neutral, but it started to look a little bit more on the darker side, you know? So even just that alone was an experiment to show you how vibration works. You know, the words we use, the English language, how they train you to say certain things, because Esau always does things the inverted way, right? He does things opposite. So you might say, oh, hello, how you doing? When you actually go into it, you just said, oh, hell. You know what I'm saying? You on the weekdays, right? You say, oh, Monday through Friday is the weekdays, right? You literally feel weak during those days. Monday through Friday, everyone feels like it's a drag, you know? And then Friday comes and everyone is all happy because it's the week has ended, the weekend, right? The weakness that you go through during the week has ended, you know? So all these different things, if you really study the language and how Esau uses to affect those who don't know, it's a huge change, man. It's literally like, damn, they go deep with this shit, man. You know, but that's all part of what the subversion tactics, you know. But you got it, bro.
Job 30 and 4, who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat.
Yeah, and that's what they were eating up in there. All right, those the herbs. You know, basically like the scripture mentioned about the serpent upon the dust. You know, shall he go? And I forgot how it worded it, but basically it was similar to how they would go into that low state, that confused state, like up the dust. Yeah, because having been driven from among men for so long, they started to basically live in isolation and became more animalistic. All right. And just like there's a comment put on the comments, right? About going back to Haran's point, how Yuval Noah Harari mentioned that yeah, they need large data, okay? Because like that Black Mirror episode, I was watching the first episode of the new season. I haven't finished it yet, but basically they trap you, right? They set you up for a trap by giving you they gave the woman in there an operation because she had I forgot what it was with her brain, but
Part of her brain
yeah.
Tumor.
Oh yeah, she had a tumor, so they had to take out a part of her brain, and then they basically cloned, right? They had like a digital replica of that in some remote area, and using this this digital technology, they would be able to basically take out her natural part and piece in the clone, which has that digital receptor in there, and so she would basically receive like the information that part of the brain is in control of would be controlled by that signal or that device that was actually in her head. And they gave the surgery for free, right? They were like, yo, this is some crazy advanced technology, yada yada. When you look at the episode, I haven't finished it yet, but the woman who came there, right, who said this is what we're doing, in her eyes, she was moving like it was a marketing team. You know, she showed no empathy for the actual lady. It was more so about, hey, this is something new we're rolling out. You're gonna really like it. Like she was selling you a car or a new sneaker or some shit. And the guy's worried about like how expensive it's gonna be. She's like, it's gonna be free. And that's how they catch you. What? It's gonna be free. Oh my gosh, so she can actually wake up again, and that's how they hook you in. Once she's hooked up on that shit, they said, look, pay $300 a month. We do a subscription base. You pay $300 a month to basically keep your wife alive, you know. And when they pass a certain area where they didn't have signal, she basically just like, from 1 second, she's talking. Like if you're talking on the phone and you go to a place where there's no reception, and then you can't hear the person anymore. That's how it was, but with her brain. They're arguing. Exactly. She couldn't travel. They're arguing. They pass that area. She just like that. And then he's bugging out. And he does an emergency U-turn going back to the hospital. And then they get back into the zone and she comes right back. Hey, what happened? Why are you driving so fast? You know, this is like the level of technology that like, this is where they're going with their technology. So going back to the point of what Yuval Noah Harari said, when he said that humans are hackable, look, the reason somebody is able to freaking use a Fire Stick to hack into like freaking GTA servers, you know what I mean? Or use some tiny small device to change the traffic light over there is because they understand how it works. How do they understand how it works? They were able to hack it because they were able to look at the tiny core essence, you know, the processor, the memory, the all of those things that are making it work. They know how that works. And once they have enough information on how it works, they can then begin to manipulate it. So the next thing they said is, well, we're going to look at how the human body works. We see what's on the outside, but it's not the outside that's making it function. It's the inside, primarily the brain. So we got to go within. So when you got the smart watches, and they're measuring this, or you got the pacemaker and is measuring this, and they're all these things, the way they advance their surgeries and they do all of those things, they're gathering information on you. They're looking internally as to what physically is happening, but they're looking externally as to how that's affecting your behavior. Social media is an information gathering platform. Okay? Think about it. Why? Because we know social media is tied to those CIA and FBI and Alphabet group projects. Why the hell would an intelligence company like that, intelligence, give a damn about you being happy that Frank down the street liked your post that you put up? Why would they? What value do these people gain from giving you the ability to post pictures and videos about yourself? Why do they care about that? Because now they're getting that information. The whole thing about Facebook is sending your information to the FBI. Instagram is sending your information here. If you notice, they basically Meta now owns that, right? WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, they basically join all that. They don't need to say, yo, I'm coming to you to, give me information on such and such. No, they say, give me access to your database so I can pull up the information I need when I need it. And that's that. It ends right there. So you going on there, them Snapchat filters, they got the little dog filter. Really ask yourself, when somebody designs technology like that, why would somebody create something like that? Like, why would I sit here and say, yo, DeBar, I'm gonna create an app so you can look at yourself with dog ears and the tongue coming out your face, you know, just for the fun of it. I'm gonna spend millions of dollars on it just for that. Why would an intelligence company care about that? Because when you turn that thing on, before, what they used to do was you see the little scan of your face, the little marks that scan your face so it knows where to place what. In your mind, oh, it's a cool filter. In their minds, I got a facial scan of everybody using this app. Whenever you send a picture, people think, oh, I sent a picture, it went straight to the bar. No, it didn't. When I sent a picture, it went to Snapchat servers, and then the bar gets the picture from their servers. And then they tell you it's deleted after 24 hours, but that's just, how do we know they actually deleted it? And in fact, you know what they could actually do, because Esau does that, to play on words. They'll tell you in there, yeah, we'll delete it from our servers, but not before we back it up onto some other backup server somewhere. Now, we ain't never say anything about that. So the second you upload it, we put it over here, then we delete it from our servers. It's gone. And when you go and look up the metadata, it's still there. So the whole point is, all this information gathering, all this data that they've gathered, and now with the use of artificial intelligence, right, which they're going higher and higher, they have now gotten the resources they need, and now they have the manpower to do it. Computers are not really intelligent. They're just really fast. You know, you can do the same thing a computer. Like, people would back in the day, they'll take like post-its and then they'll draw like pictures on each one of them and they'll flip it really fast and it looks like it's moving. That's pretty much what videos are. It's pictures moving at a fast rate. A computer moves very fast, so it looks like the computer is doing it all like magic. That's what AI is gonna do. It's gonna take all that data, it's gonna crunch all that data, and it's gonna be able to do something with that information. Now you're wondering, how do they know this about me? How do you know when I'm about to get sick before I even know it? And now you're sending me ads about freaking Claritin. You know, here it is. It's freaking February 2nd, and right on the dot, you start seeing Claritin ads. You wonder what the hell do you mean? And then next week you start sneezing, and guess what? You go over there to that pharmacy, and you get that Claritin. People look at this as like it's coincidental because they make it seem like it's coincidental. You know, no, there's no way they actually do. Who will sit there and put in all that effort to do that? Who will sit there and put in all that effort just to make you have fun? They don't give a damn about you. Because think about it, right? They care so much about your happiness that they're poisoning your food and water, but they're investing all their time and effort to make you have fun on Instagram, to play iPhone games. So the CIA, all that money they spend, all the terroristic acts they commit around the world, they do all of that so they can come and give you iPhone games. You can play freaking cup pong, with your friend by sending text messages across. That's really what they care about. They created the internet so that you can post videos of you twerking and send that to other people and write group chats and talk about cute kittens and shit. That's really why they created the internet. People, and this shows you how scary it is to be an American in 2025. Let me put it like that. It is the scariest thing to be an average American in the year 2025 because destruction and suffering is coming, and these people don't even know how to freaking purify water. These people can look at a poisonous herb and say, "Let me try this. I'm hungry." They don't have a lick of common sense. You hear chaos going over here, but because it's dark over here, you're gonna run up over there because that's what society has taught you. So when all hell breaks loose, you gotta watch who you're around because if not, they're gonna get you killed. These people will act, no, we have to go this way. Bitch, somebody just got shot going over there. Why the hell would I go over there? It's too dark over here. Anyway.
I was gonna say, co-worker, we was talking about the technology inside the cell phones and what have you. But he said, I was just thinking of something, and I went to social media and one of those commercials popped up. I was like, the algorithm, they can hear what you're saying, even if you're not using your phone. And then when you go to it, you'll see an ad mentioning something of what you was talking about. What store you went into to make a purchase. But he was like, yeah, I didn't speak about it or nothing. I just was thinking about it. It came up. And that situation came up in the ad. So he pretty much was explaining how dangerous times are. And ever since the Patriot Act, it's like they just been on a full steam ahead with advancing new technologies to deal with, your neurons and your brain.
Right.
That's what Elon Musk was coming to the point with the Neuralink. That's it.
Yeah, that's the newest field that they're going into.
Right.
Their resources are being focused on the brain. Yeah, that's basically neurotech is where most of their research is going into, and then on the other side you have artificial intelligence. Like if you look up today, what are the most closest sci-fi related technology? You'll see that it's basically brain BCI, brain computer interfaces, and artificial intelligence, and they're basically going hand in hand. Because what did Elon Musk say a couple years ago about how you're gonna have a digital avatar, a digital version of you, about how you're gonna be able to go to a different country and download that language from your digital avatar to you, and like the Matrix, and then that way you can speak that language. Well, all that happens through, like when you look at something, right? When you look at something, it's really just whether it's sunlight or a light bulb that's shining those radio waves over there, and it's reflecting off of that thing. When you see the color red, whatever object it is, it really just absorbs all the other rays, and then it reflects that red one. And that red one comes, they call them photons. They enter through your eye, and in your eye, you have something in your head that takes that light and transforms it into a natural color in your head. That's just how the eye works. The eye is an interface. The nose is an interface. The mouth is an interface. Touch, your five senses are interfaces to your brain. And they all basically speak different languages, but they translate to whatever the brain speaks. So that's how Esau hijacks your body. He just says, well, if I just know the language your brain speaks, I can add another sense to it. You know what I mean? And just have that speak this language to your brain. So they'll come and tell you this is to make people who are paraplegics be able to walk again. You know, if your legs won't send it through your neurons, we'll have the artificial intelligence send it through your neurons and still talk to your brain, and vice versa. And this is how they, well, once again, they hack the human body. When they hack your body, going back to that Black Mirror episode, you are a slave. Because that woman passed out because she was out of service, right? And then the lady said, oh, it's because we were doing maintenance because we're rolling out a new version plus. And now it's going to be what? $600 a month or some shit like that, you know? So now you're like, oh, plus. And the husband kept working overtime. Every day he has to wake up early and early and earlier just to maintain basically his wife who's now a slave. So if they came out and said, oh, now we got plus extra, now it's going to be $2 million. What are you going to do then? Because whether you want it or not, she can't, like, your wife is now living on this. This is her life support. And what if they said, you know, your wife passed out not because she was out of range, but because we shut it off. Now what? Oh, you didn't pay? Okay, we're going to shut it off. Your wife is now passed out. And now she's brain dead. Now what? You know, so this is the trap that Esau Edom is setting, and this is the danger of being a hackable creature. And when they put that device inside of you, man, people don't realize that they now have control of your internal functions. When you get a cold, that's because a virus entered your body and has control. It's a virus enters there and hijacks your cells and starts to make more of itself. And you're like, you're going through it. You're laying there, you're sneezing, you feel weak, you're shivering, you got a fever, and you just can't wait for it to be over. Because you know, if you take meds, your body will fight it. Your body's not going to fight that thing. Okay? When they gave you the little juice, there's a reason why they put that inside of your body. Until today, people still, oh, well, it's been years, people look like they're fine. And you know what they did with that? They started mixing and matching. They had the dyed, you know, the sudden D's, right? Then they say, oh no, it's the blood clots. Oh no, it started causing complications here. And then they muddied the waters. So now people are like, so is it the blood clots? Is it sudden D's? Is it the toxicness in your blood? What is it? People were scanning their bodies and coming up on Bluetooth devices. So which one is it? And then people say, you know what? Maybe it was neither. Let's go back to living regular life. You're a ticking time bomb, bro. You know?
That's why it says that, I think the Lord said that you have to bind up the strong man if you want to take the house, right? So imagine there's no strong man and you just swing the door wide open and say, come on in. That's basically what these people are doing.
Yep.
You know, come on in with the jab, come on in with the device. So they're gonna be open. People talk shit now and they say, I would never. We're gonna see. Because when that day comes and you ain't got no food, you ain't got no protection, and you feel like you out there, and the Lord's protection, mainly, that's the most important thing, ain't on you, you're gonna be open to it. And you're gonna do it, and you're gonna take it, and you're gonna die in the second death.
Yep. You got our run, and then we come back in here.
Yeah, I was going to get this in Revelation 13.
Bring it out.
16. It says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond. And how they doing that is a whole system overhaul. Like you said, nowadays all you see is BCIs and AI. That's all you see now because it's a systematic overhaul, right? That's how they're gonna cause all. They're changing the system in which all people interact with, right? It says to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. And then when you go into that word foreheads in the Greek, all right, and that's why it's also important to go into these words because you get a better understanding of what you're reading, right? You actually can see the picture much clearer, right? It says here, the Greek word metapon, right, which it says the space between the eyes and forehead, right? And that's where, why is that? Because even the guy who was part of the people who created the C-hip, all right, during the time of their design back in the 60s, he said that the feds, CIA and them came to them and said, look, we're looking for, you know, a company that can create this specifically. And they gave them the guidelines and everything. And it matches exactly what the scripture says, right? And he said the two places that they needed to have the device for it to charge itself and actually be operative is the hand, right? He said predominantly the right hand. And he said it's not necessarily just the right hand. He said the right hand because predominantly most people are right-handed, right? That's why it says in the right hand on your forehead. But in Revelation 14, it talks about any man that takes the thing in his hand, right? So if you take it in your hand, left hand, right hand, that's going to be the guideline. You have to have it somewhere, right, to gain access. And then he also said what? And the forehead, right? Those places have I believe he used the words the most rapid change in temperature. Yeah, like it goes up and down, you know, very quickly. So he said that's why even mothers, when they're checking the temperature of their children, they'll touch their forehead. And that's true. When we're kids, when we get sick, the first thing your mom will do is just touch your forehead to check your temperature. Before the whole temperature reading shit came about, that's what we're doing, right? So he said they found out that your hand in between your index and your thumb, that space right there is a perfect place to place it, right? And then also in your you can read it in your forehead. But these people advanced it with thanks to Elon Musk and all these other demons. They advanced it where they can put it inside your brain where you can scan it on your forehead. Okay, so when we see all these technological advancements that's more catering to the audience, for example, the Meta glasses and all these different things, is to condition you, prepare you, so that when you get that thing in your head, it's going to feel less of a hassle. Because you look ridiculous having this big ass glass on your face walking around in public. But if you have it surgically put inside your head where nobody could really see it, and you still have the ability, or in your mind, that's controlled, in your mind, you still have this ability to do these things, be almost like a god. You could download languages. You could literally you could look at something, and then it could transform you to someplace else, right? You could look at a picture, and then you could put yourself within that picture, like digitally fucking go into that 3D world, and then start interacting with it and shit like that. You can go to a different country just by thinking about it. Like, you can do all these things. You have Google Maps in your head. You have a GPS in your head because, nigga, you are a GPS. When they put that thing in you, they say, oh, there's no tracking. It's not a tracking device. What? What you mean is not a tracking device? How they gonna know who has what? Of course it is a tracking device because it's connected to the damn cloud. It's connected to everything. Once you're connected to something, you become trackable. Okay? So iPhones and all this, you could even turn off the phone and it can still be in operation. You know what I'm saying? So yes, that software, I know you go into that stuff, so you understand much better, right? But this is the reality. It's a conditioning process, step by step by step, to bring about this fulfillment of this prophecy here. You know, and that's what we're going into. All right, but you got it, bro.
Hey, Con, you can bring that out real quick. Let's get this real quick. It's Isaiah, right?
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 33 and 6.
This is why it's going to be very crucial to have the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. Like, people are going to start to see. I forgot. Who said it? It was some scoffer. Yoda Manat Zakba did a video on him. This was years ago. He basically was saying, "Oh, you Hebrew Israelites, y'all need to get off the street and shut up with that knowledge this and knowledge that. Like, what do you get? Y'all just want to know shit. You know what I'm saying? And why? Like, who cares? What does that do for anybody?
Where the money at?
Yeah, exactly. Like, why? So what if I know this and that?" And he was speaking as a fool, right? I got you, Shalom. And so when that time comes, knowing shit, right? Second Ezra, the 5th chapter, which will hold that too. Knowing shit is what's gonna save your life. You dumbass. Why do you go to a mechanic? Because he knows shit, right? Why do you go to a doctor? Because they know shit. Why do you go to anybody who is in a specific profession? Why do you call an electrician and not a plumber when your lights go out? Because maybe they know shit, right? That shit that you need because you don't know. So why do you call a prophet? Because all hell's about to break loose and you need to know shit. But they don't understand that. So when that time comes, they're not gonna be stable. You know why this world doesn't value the knowledge of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai? Because we are not in let's just say we're not in God's market yet. Okay, you know how it says a buyer's market or seller's market. We're not in God's market yet, meaning the Most High's goods are not on sale yet. So the currency you got is like having you go to DR and you have money with you from DR and you have it in your pocket here in America. It's gonna be like, okay, it doesn't matter until I'm in DR, right? The Lord is about to bring his market over here when he opens Jacob's trouble. And that's when you're gonna realize the value of knowing these things. Because to get from point A to point B, okay, the MOTB is out. Should I take it or not? Well, what do you base that decision off of? They're telling me to go to this shelter. Should I actually go or not? The government says we all got to turn in this or we all got to do this. Should I listen or not? Now we're in the Lord's market. You got to shut them off.
No, I was just gonna say really quickly. I believe it was Anton Daniels that said that. I believe it was him.
Oh, really? Okay. So guess what? He might get cooked too. You know? So going back to that in Isaiah 33 and 6. And as a matter of fact, the knowledge of the Lord delivers us now. You know? The Lord literally keeps us out of harm's way. You know, yeah, we're not living the best life in the world, but we have the wisdom, which is a defense. You know? We have the names of the Heavenly Father and the Son to get us out of any trouble we're in. So we're good now, but it's going to be heightened when we get to that time. Okay, and people might say, well, if you're not going to take the thing, how are you going to survive? And that's the thing. People are not going to be able to make those kinds of decisions that we can make because our decisions are going to be mixed in faith. You know, the Lord says, don't take it. We're not going to take it. But somebody in a carnal mind will say, the only reason I'm not going to take it is if I know there's an alternative. So what's the alternative? You fucking got it.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 33 and 6, and it reads, "And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times."
Yeah, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. And today, people are not seeking wisdom and knowledge. They don't understand the power in knowledge because Esau Edom has made an artificial world. You're not living in reality. Reality demands you to know things, and that's where experience comes in.
Even in the world of that vain fool who was talking about the bag and the money, you still need to know something in order to even make money. So he shot himself in the foot. Right? Don't you need to know things in order to have a business or do whatever? You know, he was intended for the black community. Even in that world, you still need to know things. Right? Everything requires knowledge. You know, this is just knowledge on the right hand, which leads into salvation. But there is going to come a time where we apply the knowledge every day. But it is going to come a time where the application of this knowledge, which is that wisdom, is going to mean life or death. And if you don't know that taking this device is going to lead you to the lake of fire, then yeah, you are going to be destroyed. So then, yeah, knowledge is a value. Knowledge is gold. Right? But, you know, stupid niggas just say things, you know, and they don't really consider that, okay, this is actually coming against what I do. This is coming against my whole existence because everything requires knowledge. You got to know something to do anything. To make the building that this dumb nigga was talking in, it required knowledge. You know, to make the technology that he's even on, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that all comes from the Lord. Anyways, even on the left hand, the Lord gave them certain technology. So you speak as a fool, man.
Yeah, because one like real life example is a pilot, right? If you're on a plane and you don't know what's going on and that plane starts going down, pilot maybe got knocked out or something, and you get there and you see that cockpit, you're gonna bug out. You're not gonna be stable in the mind. Because one, you got the pressure that the plane is falling down and you're gonna die if you don't do something. And two, you're looking at this complicated joint and you're like, whoa. And it's interesting because I'm not a pilot, but I'm pretty sure they're not using every single button on there. It's really just a few. There's some on there that are there for specific reasons that you would use this. But they know exactly which one to do. If the pilot wakes up, he'll be like, oh, you just got to move this button and then pull this over here and then boom, we're back. But the pilot is not going to lose his mind. The second he wakes up, he's going to move you out the way. He's going to say, calm down, all right, and he's just going to lock in. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, at least if I can't get it to freaking land right, at least, you know, divert it so we don't crash. But that's because he has the knowledge of what to do in this situation because he's been trained that way. So that's why it says, and wisdom and knowledge is going to be a stability of thy times, because when all hell breaks loose, we're going to know what's going on. Okay? If the power goes out, if there's an EMP, if shit starts getting worse, we're going to know what's going on. When that social cataclysm that they've been planning goes down, we know what's going on. we know it's not going to get better. So we're not going to make decisions that are going to jeopardize us, because people are going to start to say, oh, well, if I can just, maybe I'll just huddle in here for a couple of days and it'll come back on. We know that's not going to be the case. So our decisions are going to be different, and the way we move is going to be different. Okay. And that's why it says it's going to be the stability of thy times. It's what's going to keep you stable. And if you start thinking irrationally in that time, you will get killed. Okay. People die on a regular today. There was a video I saw, some kid got stabbed up in a high school, laying on the ground, pool of blood, just like that. Stabbed up, gone, cooked. So nowadays people take lives like it's stealing cookies from a cookie jar. It's nothing. And in that time, it's going to be much more frequent. Because who's going to stop them? Here it is. You see a dude, they're going back and forth. You turn around, the other dude is dead. You got this dude stomping on his head and shit, and he's actually dead. Just like that. Because the human life, the body is kind of fragile if you really think about it.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't take much to really kill somebody. Somebody can literally slip, land the wrong way, and boom. In 2 seconds, their whole life, 20 years of living, gone. Just like that.
Break a bone.
Yeah. Hit the wrong artery, feed them poison. You could be doing all these things, and you go to the bushes, you pick the wrong herb, eat it, and you're dead. So in that time, you're gonna be in need of guidance, and that's where the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua is gonna thrive. It's gonna be more than just knowing what to do. It's gonna take faith. And when people see miracles, man, they're gonna lose their minds. Water. Finish on that. You got a second at this part?
And strength of salvation, the fear of the Lord is his treasure.
As it says, what? The fear of the Lord is his treasure. And the fear of the Lord is our treasure. Why is it our treasure? Because as as Yahushua said, where store your treasures in heaven, for where a man's treasure is, there will his mind be also. Right? Water, bro. So our mind, right, as the scriptures say, are on heavenly things. And those heavenly things are where our treasure is stored. So that fear of the Lord, which leads to that wisdom, is what's going to guide us throughout, man. And trust me, man, one of the, it's in the Apocrypha in the book of Ecclesiasticus. The author said, give me any plague but the plague of the heart, which means your mind. And the reason he said that is because you may be hurt physically. You may have a paper cut. You may have, injured your thumb. But you can distract yourself, right? If your mind is clear, you can watch a movie. You can distract yourself, and that pain, you don't really feel it as much. But if there's something on your mind, a plague of your mind, which is to say, like, I don't know, like you caught your woman cheating, or some shit that just stays on your mind, that's worse than a physical plague, because it just stays there. The slight second you get distracted, it gets you get reminded of that, and your whole day is ruined. Because you don't have a peace of mind. In that time, we're gonna have a peace of mind, knowing that all hell is breaking loose, but we don't have to worry about starving. We don't have to worry about getting accidentally shot in the head. We know that, look, if we die, it's gonna be for Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. And if our lot is not to die, we just gotta move. Lord says, go here, you go here. If he says, stay here, you stay here. Like Elijah. Lord said, go and stay here. You drink of this water, you'll be fed, and you just stay there. When I need you to go somewhere else, I'll send you over there. Period. Point blank, period. We're good. Meanwhile, somebody out here struggling. They've been going 5 days, no food, no water. Stressed the hell out. 20-year-old with all gray hairs. Getting chased and shit. Got people looking. Hey, and you got some pretty crazy people out here, man. Those mentally deranged people? Sometimes their brain doesn't function well enough to where they can exert a lot of stamina, and you'd be surprised. You're like, oh, this nigga fat. Okay, nigga fat. He been chasing you for 2 miles, and you wondering, how is this dude still chasing me? I'm tired, and this guy's still going. He start picking it up and shit like that dude from Get Out. Boom, boom, straight up, straight form and everything. You see, his chest, his stomach, everything is rising. Boom, 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 and he's gaining on every step, and you wondering in your head,
Big Walter is coming for you.
what?
Big Walter is coming for you.
Big Walter. And Big Walter's hungry. And hey, you got to watch out, man. It's not just these dudes, these fat black women too. You know, so you gotta throw them in there because it's true. It's true. It'll always be the big heavy ones. And don't get caught. If this bitch sit on you, you're cooked. Just stop. It doesn't matter if you bench press four or five plates. If she sits on you, you cook, man. At that point, just start praying or give up the ghost.
Gorilla lieutenant,
That's it. Yep.
technician.
A technician and a lieutenant. You know? Gorilla Shebrew's gonna be after your ass. Anyway, let's get in on that.
2 Ezra 5:1. Nevertheless, as concerning the tokens, behold, the days shall come.
And the tokens meaning the signs. So concerning the signs of the last days, right? This is one of them. So he says the day shall come. So there's gonna come a point in time. Go ahead.
That they which dwell upon earth shall be taken in a great number,
Right, meaning they're gonna die. There's gonna be a mass death. All right. Go ahead.
and the way of truth shall be hidden, and the land shall be barren of faith.
Yeah, and the way of truth shall be hidden. In order for it to, that means, in order for the way of truth to be hidden, that means it has to be out there. Okay, and if it's out there, it's by way of us, right? The Lord set us up out here. Proverbs 1. So we're given the way of truth, telling you, hey, you got to come here, come here. Yes, I.
But then that's what leads to the famine of the word. That's synonymous with the famine of the word, right? That with the way of truth being hidden. Now, as it tells you in Amos, that they're going to be wandering from sea to sea because it's hidden. So they're looking for it. When you search for something, you go above and beyond to find it. You don't stop until you find it, you know. But in this case, they're not going to find it. They're going to see the prophets, but they're not going to be able to hear the words of the prophets to comfort them. Because what the hell are we going to tell you now? It's happening. You know, the Lord says, he told Ezekiel that he's going to cleave our tongues to the roof of our mouth, right? Meaning we're not going to be able to tell you anything that's going to help you feel good or feel better or look forward to the future of something good to come for you. Nah, it ain't going to happen. All right? But you got it, bro.
That's right. That's right. Very beautiful point. Got it. Oh, and it says the land shall be barren of faith, right? And so you're going to have, because there's going to be very few people, like in the book of Eli, right, that have that faith. And so when you spot somebody, a man of faith, you're going to want to follow them, like in the book of Eli. But it's not everybody that's going to be allowed to follow the men of the Lord. All right?
I got a precept to go with that.
God, he got it.
Luke 18:7. And shall not the Most High avenge his own elect, which cry day and night unto him, though he bear long with them? I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man cometh, shall he find faith on the earth?
There you go. Right? Shall he find faith on the earth? Because right now, faith is at an all-time low, and the ministry is out. So how much more in that time? And the thing is, I think it says 144 on there, but and that's spiritual, right? Because it's like you could barely see the 144, but you know it's still on there.
Yeah.
You know, similarly, when the Lord comes back, right? Faith is gonna be here, but it's gonna be so little. Yep, 44. That's it. You know, and so going back to the point there, the Lord is gonna take away, right? He's gonna take us off of here. And I had a thought in my head, which was that I was imagining, you know, based on what the guy said, right, when he came here about why we shouldn't go over on that side, which we don't anyway. But I was imagining like there might come a point where whenever you go and you try to set up, they're gonna come up to you and say, "Nah, you can't set up over here." And everywhere you go, everywhere you try to set up, even if it's a remote area, there'll be somebody there telling you, "Nah, you can't set up over here," because they might start sending out memos saying, yo, when you see them people hard like them Israelites try to set up on them street corners, wherever you are, and you're patrolling, tell them that they can't stand over there. Tell them they can't set up over there. You know? To where now it's like, yo, where the hell can we go? but gradually the Lord will start, you know, because we'll know that's the Lord. Go ahead.
They might even come up with legislations to limit or / ban gatherings. You know, like they did with the CV as a means to really persecute the doctrine, the ministry, because they're not really going to be caring about people gathering as a family or, you know, like parties and shit like that. That type of gathering, that's okay. But when it comes to like religious gatherings, they're going to really tie that in. You know, like they're doing in the UK. You know what I'm saying? In certain parts of Europe, they're already starting that process. You know, and Christine Lagarde said it. She said, "Yo, we have everything in place, ready to go. The only thing that we're battling right now is the legislative part." So the next few months is basically how they're going to be able to set certain laws in place, certain acts. You know, they pass this act over here and pass that act over here. And whenever they pass an act, there comes an administration or some form of office that has to, you know, oversee that act, make sure that this shit goes well. You know, so they could come up with a no religious gatherings act or whatever bullshit, you know, and the next thing you know, it's going to pretty much affect us the most. You know, like you said, they watch us, man. They watch us. They see that we out here every single weekend, every time at the same time, every Saturday like that. They know, oh, the men be pulling up over here. You know, they might send cops. They might send these so-called patrol, you know, people pass by. At first, it might just be some patrol niggas, and then eventually it's gonna become cops. You know, the patrol dude pull up like the security guy came up. You know, he might pull and be like, "Yo, hey, just so y'all know, man, y'all can't be gathering out here like that, man. You know, it's considered a disturbance to the public. Y'all can't be here no more." Just like Claudius did back in the time of Rome. There's no new thing under the sun. You know, but how come Claudius can do that? Because he was the Caesar at that time, the governmental part of the Roman Empire. Same thing over here again. You know, so they're not really going to come at you more on a religious tip. It's going to be more on a legislative tip. You know what I'm saying? Like on some political shit. And they're going to tie it all in and then bring it down full circle, man. But you got it, bro.
Yeah, and just using wisdom, when that time comes, you know, a spiritual man will be able to tell, like, hey, ultimately this is the workings of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, right? If it gets to the point where the Lord is setting it up to where you can't physically do that, there's no need to, now you trying to be the freaking expert lawyer and go back and forth with this authority over here, telling him, no, I have the right to religious freedom, bro. Because now you're failing to realize that the Heavenly Father had you out here for all these years. None of this happened, and now it's starting to happen. You being mindful that the famine of the word is coming, you're gonna do that shit, get yourself arrested for what? Oh, we got persecuted for the word, the ministry's sake.
Hey, force not the course of the river.
Right.
You know, and I want to add something. My seed, what you brothers are speaking about, reminded me, and 2 Ezra 5 reminded me too. My seed had a dream the other night. And when he woke up, he said, this dream was so terrible that I don't even want to tell you. Blah, blah, blah. I said, nah, tell me, what was it? What did you dream about? He was reluctant. And then finally he told me, he said that all of the people on the earth were vanishing, basically. And he said that it was kind of like a rough image of the dream because he was probably having trouble recollecting. But he said that basically I was on a mountain and that they were trying to make me vanish, but that part of the dream didn't happen. But it was getting to that point. So it goes to show these people are going to be, like I said, taking a great number. And there's going to be a point where the walls are going to be closing in and we're going to see like, this is it. And that's when Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai is going to raise the standard up to where we're protected, whether it be by angels, spiritual power, the Lord having these birds that we see every day in front of camp. They're going to visit us and bring us some food. The same way they gather and stuff for their nest, they could gather us up some food. You see, the Lord can make that happen. Ravens, different things. So either way it goes, the Lord is going to have us protected, man.
That's right. Yeah, and that's going to be a beautiful thing. And look, the time is going to come. You know, you're going to be living your life. You're going to be living your life. And then, boom, it's going to happen. And there's going to come a point in time when we're going to be talking back to, like, we're going to be recollecting back on these times when we used to come out here and we used to prophesy and we used to say the thing is coming. And we used to say that MOTB is going to come out. And we used to say the famine of the word is going to happen. And now here it is. And we're in that time. That's going to happen. Okay. Just like at the end of 4 years, the election comes. Guess what? At some point, the time is going to come where you're going to be in a situation where you're seeing prophecy unfold right before your eyes. You're actually hearing these words. You might zone out for a second. You know, when you hear these words, first you'll hear it on the legislative tip, but then it'll start being enforced. And then you'll start seeing it in the workplaces. And maybe you're at a register or you're at work and you're hearing this. And they're telling you, you're sitting there in front of the guy, listening to him telling you prophecy. Telling you about how this new system, this is how it is. We're going to need to start shifting on here. And everybody's mandated to do it if you want to work here. That's part of the rules of working here. And you're going to be there like, really? So you telling me everybody got to get this thing? You know, like, the time is going to come. And then you're going to start to see people, bro, I had to do it, bro. But, it's not that bad, bro. Nah, like, I feel you, bro. I heard what you were saying. But, bro, it's not that bad, bro. I'm fine, bro. I'm good. Like, I got to keep my job. Like, bro, I don't think that's going to happen, bro. Just go take it. You're going to start hearing that and being like, yo, like this dude actually like, let me see your hand, bro. And then he's gonna show you, yeah, bro,
Check
right
it out.
here, bro. Look, bro, I can scan it with my phone and shit, bro. Look at that time is gonna happen. And we're gonna know in our minds that, yo, literally, like the scriptures say, lift up your head for your salvation drove nigh.
I mean, look, the UK just dropped that law about street preaching now.
Mhm.
So what's good? There's brothers in there that in that country now that that these decisions are about to have to be made about, do we pull back? Do we, all the spirit is going to determine that either way. But if that's happening there, how much farther off is that from happening here? And we know Nero is going wild. So any day now he could just flip the same way he signs his executive orders. He could just flip one day and say, no more street preaching. No more extremism on the streets, because he's going to try to tie us in with them protesters. The Palestine protesters is going to try to tie us in. We have nothing to do with them.
Right.
All right. We tell you that we just read before that the Lord said the nations, all of the nations, are as the dust on the scale, man. So the Lord ain't dealing with none of you nations. He's dealing with the nation of Israel.
Right.
So at the end of the day, we see these things happening. And now it's coming. It's not just, okay, we're talking about it. It's actually coming right in front of our face, happening.
Right.
Dead front and center. And now, since that's happening in UK, look what happened in France. IUIC apparently got banned.
Right. Apparently.
We're gonna see because the information is a little shady. But yeah, so France apparently banned IUIC. But then again, those guys, they always tied in with these different governments.
And they just recently did the whole joining with the Nation of Islam.
You see? Look at the timing of it.
Exactly.
See, so spiritual men are looking at these things and saying, okay, we see what time it is. By the end of this, let's say this time next year, hey, if we even here, by this time next year, the Lord could deliver us this year, for all we know. Things could happen real fast before you know it, boom. Everybody got to get this thing, and the immigration crisis, whatever, they're going to have some crazy shit happen. And it's already talks of Iran and Israel daily. Iran, Israel, the U.S., all in the mix. Russia, locking in them ties with Iran and China. So that block, it's already set. So what does it take? It's a small little push in the right direction, and boom, we're going to be out of here. Lord's will, we those men. So we say that to say, to be ready. Be ready so you ain't got to get ready.
Yeah, I say this through the spirit. I got you, Haran. Don't be surprised if when the MOTB comes out, you're gonna have, because they depending on how they roll it out, you're gonna have people, right, especially us, who are gonna be like overly hyped about it. But that's because we know what it means. But don't be surprised if it comes out and life goes on, like it's not a big deal. Like how the CV thing came out. Because when it first came out, there was a lot of talk. But now people, when they put the blocks, the mandates and all that, life was going on. People moved on. People went and got it and kept living their life and looked at you like you were just making a big deal out of nothing. So don't be surprised when the MOTB comes out. Yeah, you're going to have people saying like, oh, what's going on? Like, we're going to be doing lessons and all that. But you might try to take that outside of the circle of the truth, and they're going to look at you like, yeah, okay, so yeah, it's just technology. And you're thinking like, yo, it's been like a couple months. I thought it was going to be like a crazy ass, like, shit, everybody's bugging out. Oh, the MOTB is out. Whoa. But it's just like everybody's doing whatever they're doing. And some have it and some don't. And some are getting it. But now my life is harder because I don't have it. And it looks like I'm just being a hard ass because I'm stuck to this religious belief. And because of that, I got fired. And your family's looking at you like, yo, bro, you lost your job over some new technology or whatever. Like, what's the big deal? Don't be surprised, because that could be a part of the temptation where it's like, yo, am I bugging out? Like I feel like I'm stressing over nothing. And that'll eventually get to people to say like, yo, who even cares? There's a big ass prophecy unfolding and nobody really even gives a damn. Why am I really putting myself through all this hell? I might as well just go and do it. GMS, they made it seem like it was a big ass deal. Like, you're going to freaking die. You might have people doing that. I wouldn't have took it. I'm fine. Hey, man's got to eat, right? Y'all the ones starving over there. talking about some MO, whatever the case is. Don't be surprised.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, right, at the end, at the very end, when everybody's done what they've done, then the Lord is like, all right, as this shit starts kicking off and then the supernatural aspects start kicking in, that's when people start realizing, like, oh, fuck, this was a big deal. And now the missiles are coming and I'm about to get roasted. You got it, bro.
Hey, Khan, that makes perfect sense, because that whole concept is really for the secular world, right? New World Order, Novus Ordo Seclorum. So the MOTB is really catering to the people of the world, not us who are not of the world, right? We're in the world, but not of the world, as Yahushua says. So it's going to affect us the most because that's all part of the temptation, but we're going to pass, right? We're going to pass it because Yahushua has already ordained that we're going to pass. If you're of the elect, he said he's going to keep us from the hour of temptation. So he's going to protect us, man. All right, but I got a quick precept here, and I believe the brother posted on the comment board as well. All right, this is a book of 1 Corinthians chapter 4. I'm going to start off at verse 8. It says, Now ye are full, now ye are rich. Ye have reigned as kings without us, and I would to the Most High ye did reign, that we also might reign with you. For I think that the Most High hath set forth us the apostles last, as it were appointed to death. For we are made a spectacle unto the world, and to angels, and to men. Right? So even going back to the time during the Roman Empire, you had some of the believers who are being put in these Roman Colosseums to fight against these wild beasts like lions and so on and so forth for a sport, all because of what they believed in. All right, so as a form of a punishment, they created a punishment for entertainment for those who sook our downfall. Okay, and they're going to do a similar thing here, just like they did during the time of the Babylonian Empire with Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, including Daniel. Right, they always sought our demise as a sport. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's put them in this situation and see what they're going to do. I believe it's also written in the book of Wisdom of Solomon, right? That they said they're going to test. Oh, you said you're the sons of God? We're going to test to see if you're really the sons of God, right? So Esau always got some fucked up shit to put a faithful man through to test your faith. But you got to think of it more of, the Heavenly Father is testing me. And that's more easier to bear when you think of it like that, because you're a son of the Most High, right? It's different. You have a different reaction when another person from another household comes to check you. You get angry, like, yo, who the fuck is you? You're not my dad, right? Compared to if your father's checking you, but he's harsher than the other person's punishment, you're going to endure that a little easier. You're going to bear that a little easier because you know it's coming from a place of love. So it's the same thing with the Heavenly Father, right? During our times of temptation, we're going to pass, but it's all through the faith that we have that we're going to pass. The faith that we have in the Lord that we're going to be good. But the rest of the world, they're not going to see it as a test. They're going to see it as a trial, as a tribulation, as a troublous time. Oh my God, the end is here. Oh, what are we going to do? Nah, it's the end for them, but it's only another hurdle that we're going to jump over to go to the other side. All right. So continuing, it says, all right. Oh, even going back to that precept, for I think that the Most High has set us forth the apostles last. You've had all these religions, right? All Christianity, this, that. Not until now, when the Lord sent his true men, starting with the apostles of Great Millstone on down, right? To what? To bring out the truth. Okay? It says, as it were appointed to death, for we are made a spectacle unto the world. Right? We go to the word spectacle, that's where you get the word spectacles from, glasses. Right? I believe that's how they call it in the UK. All right? Or the other words, to spectate means to look or to watch. Right? So the whole world is looking at the Hebrew Israelites, predominantly the prophets, as a spectacle. Like, yo, these guys, these men, oh, this and that. Everybody knows about us now. Everybody watches the Hebrew Israelites. Okay, they know what's going on. All right. So it says what? It says, and to the angels, it says, and to angels and to men. So all throughout the whole entire world, you got chariots that be flying over sometimes. We'll be at camp. You got a whole bunch of a fleet of chariots. We haven't seen that in a while. But a few years ago, they used to pop up all the time. We'll be standing there, be like, oh, chariot, oh, hey, so they're also coming in there to check in on what's going on. You know what I'm saying? It says, continue verse 10, we are fools for Hamashiach's sake. And that's how the world looks at us. Like, you guys are wasting your time, right? They don't value what we do for what it is. They look at it as just a waste of time. It says, but ye are wise in Hamashiach. It says, we are weak, but ye are strong. Ye are honorable, but we are despised. Even unto this present hour, we both hunger and thirst and are naked and are buffeted and have no certain dwelling place. Right? Yahushua didn't have a certain dwelling place. You know what I'm saying? So we're just like our Lord Yahushua because we seek it says, well, we seek a continuous city, one to come, right? A new heaven, a new earth, wherein dwelleth righteousness, man. So we're pretty much like pilgrims on the earth. We're travelers, so to speak. You know, this age, this time period was just us passing through. And as we're passing through, we said, oh shit, damn, Lord, what is this? You know, we got translated from damn parts of Africa, brought over here to live the debauchery and to condemn it. You know? And like you said, Bakar, earlier, how we were sleeping and the Lord woke us up. You know, like prophets of old waking up to this new world. And we're like, what the fuck? Like, it's just so bugged out. You know, that's why the people in the world can't see things from our point of view. Because we come from a different point of view. We come from a different world. Right? I believe there's a precept that says that the knowledge that we have is from above. You know, and the knowledge that they have is from beneath. Basically, the ordinances of this world is all pagan, is all heathenistic. You know, it's outside the temple. You know, that's the secular part. That's the essence of this world. You know, so when we come in with what we're talking about, it seems so foreign to them. Meanwhile, what they're doing seems so foreign to us. So we're in two different lanes, man. You know, and that's going to come with two different outcomes, right? It says, verse 12, 1 Corinthians 4:12, and labor, working with our own hands, right? It's important that each brother got a job, right? You're working, you got to take care of yourself, right? It says, even Yahushua was the son of a carpenter. So obviously he also picked up on that trade, right? Look at the disciples. They were fishermen, right? Look at Matthew. He was a tax collector, right? So you had men had various different lots. They were doing their work too. Yeah, they were serving the Lord, but they also actually had jobs that they were doing to feed themselves, you know, even in the ministry, right? It says, being reviled, we bless. Being persecuted, we suffer it, right? So like you said, you don't make a big deal out of going through persecution, the trials. It's part of being a righteous man in a wicked society. Don't expect to be embraced like the IUIC and them trying to be assimilated with the world. This nigga Nate talking about he found out the truth back in 1990 from a man called Black. Man, I'm done with this guy, bro. I put that video in the chat. I'm done with this dude, bro. It's over with this guy, man. It says, being defamed, we entreat. We are made as the filth of the world, right? Those are the labels, like you were mentioning earlier. They put these negative labels out there and then they just throw it on you. You know, oh, you're an anti-Semite. Oh, you're a hate group this. Oh, you're this. Weak ass shit, man. It says, we are made as the filth of the world and are the offscouring of all things unto this day, right? So these Christians be believing in the scriptures. They go into the Bible and all this God love bullshit. But guess what? What about this part? Why are you always pushing this love, love, love when you have stuff like this written here, right? Being the offscouring of all things unto this day. We're like the filth of the earth. You're not supposed to be liked and embraced. Look what they did to Yahushua. You call yourself a so-called Christian, but you want a different reaction from what you're supposed to be getting? Nah, bro, it's not gonna work like that. You know, but that's all I had on that. You got it, bros.
Khan, beautifully said. Beautifully said. So we're approaching that time. Johnny Brown.
Luke 21:34. Take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness.
Now you notice the Lord said, take heed to yourselves. All right, because yeah, Esau is the outside enemy, but hey, Aaron, like you mentioned last night, Saboy, we back out in that free with him, right? So if an animal is gonna bite you, you know, it's gonna come from within your own clothes because it's closest to you, right? So you are both your best supporter and your worst enemy. So that's why the Lord said, take heed to yourselves, because it's funny when Esau attacks you, what he does is really he tries to trigger an autoimmune disease within your mind. Okay, and that is to say to turn your own mind against you. So your mind can be your worst enemy. You know, by you giving heed to seducing spirits, you start to go into these ways and you jeopardize the salvation that the Lord has coming for you, right? So take heed to yourselves. Go ahead.
Take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness.
And the heart, meaning your mind, right, be overcharged. So now you're at a great day, couple of those. Yeah. We almost out of here. So as it says, your minds be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness, which is what this world promotes. That's what Esau targets. That's what he goes after. Go ahead.
And cares of this life, and so that day come upon you unawares.
Right, because now your mind is full of the cares of this life. So every time you have, every little bit of free time you have, there you go, bro. It's it's tending to the cares of this world. So much so that you don't notice, you're not watching anymore, and the day of the Lord comes upon you unawares. You're like, damn, I was just almost done building this sandcastle, and now the wave is coming. Right? When you really should have been running away, because now you're gonna jump.
For as a snare shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth.
Like a trap. And a trap is one that you don't see coming. So you're just going, and then boom, that's how traps work. They're camouflaged. You get closer to a trap without even realizing it's there. And that's how the Lord is going to make his appearance back on the earth, like a snare, like a trap to the world. But we know where the trap is. We know that it's coming up. So we're very careful with every step that we take. The scripture said, prudent man, look at well into his goings. Is that on that verse? One more. All right, we're going to finish it on that verse.
Watch ye therefore, and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man.
There you go. All right, and that's the spirit we all got to be in, and right on cue. So with that, we're going to wrap it up. The rain is coming down, but Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Brakak, Wadash. And until next time, Shalom. Shalom.
Hey, Shalom. Yabashim Shabakatam. Shalom.
Shalom.